I'm DaJuan Johnson. Welcome to the Think Bigger Actors podcast, where I share with you different kinds of talks and coachings and conversations with actors and industry professionals on thinking bigger. I hope these conversations will help you on your path to success, because I believe success is an inside job that starts with your mindset and the thoughts you hold dominant in your mind. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Your path to thinking bigger begins now. Welcome to the Think Bigger Actors podcast. I'm your host, DaJuan Johnson, and I'm coming in hot. I'm coming in hot today. I wrote an email to my Think Bigger tribe. By the way, if you're not on my emailing list, it is some of the greatest inspiration and, coaching and just amazing material that I send out weekly to my Think Bigger tribe. And, you better ask somebody, but but the thing is, I wrote this message to them, and I want to just share it with you because it was so great, and I wish I had heard it, or I wish I had thought about it. I wish I had wrote it so many years ago and just really understood it. So I'm going to want a little something like this. I wasted a lot of energy over the years staying in spaces where I thought, if I could just show this person or these people my light and my heart and my value, they'd reciprocate the energy. The lesson here is your worth is not based on whether or not others recognize it in you. And I thought to myself, this part isn't part of the email, but I thought to myself, like, how amazing that I wrote this email around this time that, this episode was going to come out because, our guest talks a lot about, surrounding yourself around positive people, surrounding yourself around people in the industry that matter, or also just having a little bit of, different energy in the industry. But I also went to a meeting with my manager. Gosh, I always share so much with you all. This is why I feel like whenever I see any of you all on the street and you stop me and talk about the podcast, it's because we are in conversation still. That's how I run my business, is how I run my podcast. It's like I haven't seen you for a while, and it's like, right. And don't forget, we're talking about this, and we just continue talking. But I went to a meeting yesterday, actually, with my manager, a meeting that I knew I had to have for a very long time. And it was a meeting that I've been putting off because one of the things that I understand about this industry is that I understand the ebbs and the flows of it. But what I understand more than that is how if you are not careful, and I talk about this all the time in any of my coachings, any of my lessons, that if you are not careful, you will get swept up in the current of group actor think. You will get swept up in the current of the cult of average and what they are doing. And a lot of what's going on right now is, I keep talking about there's a contraction in Hollywood. Nobody's filming anything. What are we doing? This industry sucks. A lot of that is coming up. That is a lot that I keep hearing over and over and over again. And I got swept up in it. But I started to think, because I'm not in that energy, how can I raise my frequency? How can I raise my vibration and keep it there? And something kept telling me, do not go into your manager meeting with that energy. And it takes a very skilled, wise person to just say to yourself, I'm not going to act right now. I hear everybody around me saying the sky is falling. But DaJuan, you understand that this is the industry, and we've been through ebbs and flows like this before. So if you want to combat and go at your team right now, and you want to be like, why? What are you doing for me? Why am I not auditioning like everybody else? I see people on deadline, auditioning. Why is that not happening for me? Or do you want to show up at this meeting in a different space and place and energy? Is that what you want? See, what we don't do is we don't put it towards the end. What's the result you want? The result I want is to understand, hey, are you still excited about me? Because I'm excited about you. See how I can ask that question without it feeling like it's an attack? Here's what I'm doing for my career right now. I know it's slow. I know a lot of people, the agencies we want to go to, those things are not happening. Here's what I'm doing right now. So we shift the conversation that way instead of showing up in the lack that is sometimes our industry. So I really just had to really think about that. Really think about wasting a lot of, the energy and spaces and places and all those things that I've been in before. And I was like, is that what I'm doing right now? Am I jumping into the collective thought of lack in our industry and putting momentum behind that? Or how can I not? How can I not? It was a great talk, by the way. It was a great talk. Why am I talking about this today? Why am I even bringing this up today? It was a great email. I have great emails all the time, but I'm bringing this up today because our guest, who just been in this industry for a bit too, just brought this out and talked about it. And I thought, this would be really good to share with you guys. So I'm just going to tell you, your worth is not based on whether or not you book a job. Your worth is not based on whether or not you audition. Your worth is not based on whether others recognize it in you. You are an actor. You don't have to book every single job. Actually, you won't book every single job. We know that for a fact. But that doesn't make you less of an actor. It doesn't make you less of an actor. That's my tangent for today, y'all. That is my tangent. That is my tangent for today. Let me get to this guest. Today I did something different. This guest, I'm going to tell you. Today, this guest and I got into some cocaine. We got into some cocaine on this episode, and we talked about it. We loved it. Yes, you heard me right. DaJuan Johnson is diving into the cocaine, and I loved it. Okay, before this gets too far, and I can't get out of this dad joke. I mean, Kahyun Kim, star of Cocaine Bear, the film, and American Gods, and the new medical comedy, St. Dennis. We talked on this episode about those things. We did not do any cocaine. Feds do not come for me. Get out my DMs, everybody. I'm not promoting cocaine. Well, I am promoting Cocaine Bear. I am promoting that because Kahyun was really great in it. It was a little gory. Kai. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it was a little gory, and but we talked all about that in this episode. And she really went on to talk about acting opposite a silver freaking ball. There's so many actors out there that are like, I don't want to act in the self-tapes. I don't want to do that. You have to act sometimes up against a ball, not a bear, a ball. So we talked about that. She talked about surrounding yourself with talented and supportive people in the industry. What I was talking about in the intro there, her Cocaine Bear audition, and being a series regular on her new project, St. Dennis Medical. Oh, we got into that. It's just some really good stuff we talked about. But I think you're going to really love her take on effort. Her wishing she had some more effort in her career, wish she had it before. Now she has this different confidence, and it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. Wonderful to sit down and chat with her, and I think you're going to like it. And make sure you stick around for the D12 shot at the end while I bring it all together. Kahyun Kim, how are you?
How are you?
I'm so good. It's so amazing to see you after all these years and have you on the Think Bigger Actors podcast. I mean, it's kind of got to be like 15, maybe, I would say.
Yeah, since we've first known each other.
Yeah, like when we were in acting class years and years and years ago.
Oh, you're one of the best coaches, just FYI. I still stand by that. You're one of the best coaches.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. I enjoy working with actors. I enjoy us and stuff. And so, but you have been kicking butt, and I first of all, I want to make sure I give you your flowers there. You know what I mean? But you have been kicking butt out there, and there's been some awesome movies, but some awesome TV shows and stuff like that. And I definitely want to get to that. But I want you to catch me up. Give me a little bit of what's been going on since I saw you, or has it felt like a flash in the pan, and now I'm here? Well, you know what I mean? And now I've quote unquote arrived, or have you been like, no, there were a lot of times when I thought of turning back?
Oh my God. Yes, I just thought one day I woke up and I was like, here I am.
I'm here.
So great. No, yeah, I don't know, now looking back, it feels like, time seemed like it flies. But when I mean, there's so many things that happen, obviously, in between, like, personal life and, like, professional
Mhm.
life, and a lot of ups and downs. Most of the times we're up, I would have to say, but definitely a lot of, and it does feel like a long time. It's kind of crazy to think.
Does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so. Like, so in that time, you wouldn't say that this happened overnight. Like, the success you've had. And
Nah.
I remember being in class with you around those first couple of bookings, you know what I mean? Those first
Yeah.
things you were doing. And so, it's just, that must feel like eons ago.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, I would have to say, I really believe in energy begets energy,
Mm,
not that, like, it's just that, but I do think if you're around people who are talented and who are doing well and who just, like, has that energy out, you are affected by it. You can't be, like, so I think, like, definitely stands when I joined stands, which is like maybe like 6 months, a year after I graduated from Juilliard. A couple of my
yeah.
classmates found Stan, and I'm sure you know them too, but and I kind of joined as well, and I have like very good friends from it still. But I think that's when I was kind of surrounded by people who were actually in the trenches of like TV and film, who were
Mhm.
working, and he worked in a very precise way, and everybody else did, and there was a standard, and like being around that, I think, is kind of what kicked me to start booking
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like working.
I talk a lot about that. I agree with that 120%. I talk a lot about, like, a lot of people, when I hear they're out here and they're working on Shakespeare or they're working on Tennessee Williams and stuff like that, which is great, right? It's
Yeah.
great. I'm here for the classics and stuff like that. But when you're out in Los Angeles or New York and you're doing that, I'm just like, how are you going to apply that to 911? Or how are you going to shift that when you got to
It's
go to Grey's
hard.
Anatomy,
Yeah.
or The Rookie. And so it's
100%.
like you have to get around people where the conversations change. You
Hmm.
just must, because like you said, if nine of your friends are broke, you will be the 10th one,
100%.
right? You have to really be or surrounding yourself constantly around people who are doing something, doing more, not just complaining about how bad the industry is. Because one thing I know for sure is the industry has not been great for the last 100 years. You
100%.
know, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like people have always found something to, I guess, complain about in the industry. So I'm happy to hear you say that when you get around better people, you're going to do better. So that's really, really interesting to say.
100%. And I think real it was really important to learn, also how to lift other people up, because I
Mhm.
think if other people do well, I do well was so much a thing I learned at Stan's specifically, and especially being an only child. I don't think that comes to me instinctually. Not that, I'm
Yeah.
like a crazy competitive person, although I don't know what my mom would say about that. But but it is, I think, like, also like my best friend, who I met at Juilliard, is also another person who really taught me that. Like, if you are good to
Mm.
other people, and if you root for other people, that will automatically come to you. And I'm not just talking about like woo in a woo woo sense,
Mm.
although like I also believe in that, but I talk about it in, like, yeah, like what you were saying about energy. Like,
Yeah.
when other your friends are like on set working, and like, you have that kind of culture. It's almost like when I was seeing people do that, I was like, oh, they're doing it, I can do it too. Like, I'm sitting in the same classroom they are, and I'm
Mhm.
learning the same things they are, so I can do that
Yeah.
too. So that was very important, and I'm very grateful
Yeah.
for my friends and like people at stands who taught me that.
It's so interesting because a few podcasts ago, I shared with the tribe, the listeners out there, that there is a momentum in success, right? There's a currency. And
Yes.
what we do is when we see that current going, we hear it in its lowest vibration we've heard people say work begets work, or people are working, you're around that same thing you were just saying, but that is a current. And what we do is when we see it for other people, like you're saying, other people are booking and you're not booking. If you don't understand the two principles there, one is, it is, if it's happening for them, it can absolutely be happening for you. So don't pull yourself out of that current. Don't pull yourself out of that class. Don't pull yourself out of that space that you're already in because your ego or something else is a little bit bruised right there. But the second part of that is, what we do is we pull ourselves out of that. So far, we put ourselves into observer mode. And so we are just watching everybody else win and we're smiling, but we don't think it could happen for us. And sometimes we're so far back, we're like in the parking lot, watching people, and we pull ourselves out of that momentum, that success momentum. You pull yourself so far out of that. And so it's very interesting to hear you saying that, but also I love reiterating that over and over again to our listeners, because I think it's important. If your neighbor or your friend in class is booking, that is a testament, that is proof that it can and will be happening for you. Don't let up. Don't let up right there. So that was my sermon for today.
Yes, yes, please. I think that is so huge. And it's like, I think it's something that really did at the beginning what kickstarted me, that kind of mind of thinking.
Yeah. Okay. You're like guest starring and booking and doing the damn thing. Like what's it like for you right now?
Right now, I feel good. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
I I am working on a new TV show on NBC, which is really fun. Um, I mean, life after Cocaine Bear has been
St. Denis, everybody.
yes, yes. Um, and it's been a whirlwind, but it's been such a blessing. Cocaine Bear was such a dream project for me. I always said, and I think I've said this in other interviews before, but one of my favorite films that I have no shame telling about people, it's truly like my favorite film, is 22 Jump Street, and I have to be specific. It's not 21, it's 22 Jump Street. And it's one of my favorite films, and it was like my dream to be in a film like that. And like something goofy where you can improv and, just play. It just feels like such a playground. And that's what Cocaine Bear was to me. It was the
Mhm.
same producers, Lord and Miller. Um, and so anyway, so that kind of kicked off, I feel like, a comedy life for me, which was such a blessing. Yeah, and not that I wasn't doing comedy before that. Like I've always been a comedy gal. I love comedy, but
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was such it was a turning point for me. And I think it also kind of like we were coming out of. I mean, it was shot during the pandemic, so it was also
Mhm.
a very different space for, I'm sure, a lot of people. You know, and
Yeah.
and for some reason, I was also, there was a lot of personal stuff like happening and during the pandemic, like at the start of it and before it. That was really, really hard.
What? What do you mean? What do you, personal stuff?
Yeah,
What? In a pandemic?
yeah, like a shitty, fucked up
No.
relationship, you
Oh,
know,
wow.
yeah, and just being, so like I went to Korea for a little bit because my parents still live there.
Mhm.
And then for some reason, actually, the pandemic kind of like I was working like a lot after the first year of pandemic, and then that's how Cocaine Bear came, and it kind of, yeah, it did kind of like, yes, it was a project and it was a big movie and it was, talked a lot about, and I'm sure, that has also helped me just in general, but also that feeling of, wow, like this is something I wanted so bad, like this was one of my dream things and here I am doing it, and that just put me in a different mindset, I feel like I was like, I can do it, like I feel good.
Wow. Wow. I got two things I want to unpack that you said here. The first one was, you said after Cocaine Bear, it's been a bit of a whirlwind. talk about the whirlwind because a lot of people we don't understand that, right? And I want to hear about the mindset in there or what was happening in there for you. And then we're going to come back to this dream thing.
Um, I mean, it kind of, I mean, actors all have up and downs, like there's a lot of even when you're doing well, it's such a, I mean, it never feels enough or it never feels stable and also like I don't know. I don't know if it's I'm Korean or if it's just my personality, but it's always like work more, work more, work more has like, always been installed in my head
Yeah.
that it, it just after Cocaine Bear, like I did feel like because it was a movie and it opened and it was a big Hollywood film, it did like and it was a bear on cocaine. Like
Mhm.
people were going to talk about it, at the
Yeah.
end of the day either way. So and it's a great film, but
It was
but
great. It was great.
it's fun. Like
I had a lot of explaining to do to my son when he kept seeing the billboards around town. I just want you to know here.
I love that. I mean, I love that. I love the explaining to kids. um, no, it definitely I do think it put me on a like it my name was coming up, I'm sure. Like, because I was in the film. Like, either way there's all of our castmates names were coming up, I'm sure. And I think that just put me in a certain confidence and I also think, I mean, this is like such a like segue, but I had a red carpet outfit.
Oh, I saw that. Oh,
And
that's on my thing to talk about.
oh, it's like but it was one of my favorite things because uh, I not that I play safe, but because
You do. This is like not the person I remember. And so to see
real,
you, well, I mean, like not in your acting now and stuff like that, but
yeah.
the person I met, half a decade ago, or 15 years ago, it would not have wore shells like Ariel. And I was like here for it. I was like,
Oh,
yes, yes, yes.
thank you. See, that makes me so happy because I think that's kind of the evolution I'm talking about the whirlwind. I think, I think everybody who like really, really are close, like my classmates
Mhm.
or who had to like I mean, I was forced to be myself around them because at some point, if you're spending 24 hours, 7 days a week, you have to like, I think that's one of the things I learned to be comfortable doing that in front of people. But then I think when I came out to the world and I was like learning and like trying to present myself as an actor because I didn't want to ever fuck up. Like
Mhm.
I didn't want to ever like be too much or like, be too myself or even like, the other day I was talking to the writers from our show and I was like, yeah, when I because they were like, "Oh my god, you're from Korea and but you speak like a LA girl, you talk like a LA girl." And the first few like years, still sometimes in me, I'm so scared that somebody's gonna like find out I'm from Korea. Like I can't
Mm.
speak English.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird I think it's like a trigger of mine that I like learned from school, but also like being out here, like meeting professionals, like especially like, 12 years ago when I was starting or how many years, like it it was still better than I'm sure before, but coming out of school, I think there was a lot of limitation, especially like being an Asian actor, of a
Mm.
female, like they were like, well, if you have an accent and we can hear that, then they're not going to want to work with you.
Mm.
That was kind of one of the things that was such a fear that was installed in me. And also, like, that plus, like, I didn't have a green card, at the time. I mean, I was legal and everything. I had, a visa, but like getting that visa was so hard, and like trying to like just stay and work in the
Yeah.
States was so difficult for me. And I think the first like really like the time I started like really working was actually when I got my green card because
Mm.
I think that lift, that psychological like, oh my God, like, are they gonna hire me? Because even if you have a artist visa, they might not hire you. And I don't think people talk about that enough. like,
Yeah.
because it's such a for me, like, when everybody was like, I need to work," like, yes, I needed to work, but I actually needed to work to stay in the country.
Right.
Like, as
Yeah.
an actor, I wanted to work 100%, but I was like, "Oh my god, if I don't, like, have enough resume, then how am I gonna renew this visa? How am I gonna, like, extend my stay?" And that was such a fear that was installed in me. And on top of that, like, I'm like, "Oh, are people gonna find out that I can't, like, can I not speak English? Like, do I not sound American enough?" Like, so that kind of was a big hunch that I had to get over. And I think once I yeah,
No,
it
it
was
sounds exhausting, right?
exhausting.
It sounds mentally exhausting because, while everybody's trying to book roles, you're also thinking to yourself all this other stuff. It's like a backpack you're bringing with you,
Yes.
right? It's like it's
Yeah.
all there as well. And it's like, well, if you don't book a role, then you just go and wait for other roles. But if I don't book a role, I might have to leave the country.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that mental load is pretty intense. It's
Oh
pretty
my
intense.
god. It was yeah, and yeah, so, like, once I got kind of I was set on that. I think, it was a lot of discovering like how I want to present myself. And it took years, like, or who I want to be as a person. I think
Mhm.
marrying who I am as a person and being an actor was something I really had to figure out from school. And I think that's why, full circle, I think that outfit to me meant so much more than just like, I'm going to put a like scandalous outfit out. It was like I planned, I had such a vision in my head
Mhm. Mhm.
that outfit. It wasn't just like, "Oh my god, I wanna be, like, half naked and I wanna, like, put some, like, rhinestones on my boobs and, like, go out."
Yeah.
It was more like, "You know what? I wanna, like," and my friend said this, who's now a photographer, but he's also a classmate of mine, and he was like, "You need to go out. This is, like, your first presentation, like, as a person, as an actor, like, to the world." And I
Mm.
never really thought about it like that, but because he's a photographer, I think that's something he mentioned, and I was like, "Yeah, you're right." And he was like, "I mean, look at your Instagram. You're funny. Like, you're like, but you're also like, you love thirst traps. You love being hot, like,
Yes.
he was like, you're amalgamation of all that stuff, and you want to like show your personality." So for me, that was a moment of showing more of who I am. Like I wanted to be funny. I didn't want to just, I want to also look pretty, obviously. Like, and that's
Duh.
duh, I'm an actor. I love attention. But I wanted to really, show who I am as a person and like Cocaine Bear, like that movie is such a bizarre concept and a bizarre, it's a real life story, but it's a bizarre movie. And I was like, yeah, like I belong in this world and that's what I love. And, and like, yeah, I can do this crazy thing, but I also like, I want to have substance behind it too. Like that
Yeah.
was another thing. I was like, I don't want to just do crazy for crazy. I want there to be substance and I wanted to be a person who could provide that. Yeah.
I just want to say that for me, has been one of the biggest evolutions because I believe some actors don't think that we should evolve in this industry, but
Mhm.
if you can evolve, I think you work longer, you stay here longer, all that stuff. But one of the evolutions I had was how to marry all these fragmented selves that I had created, all these variations that I had created to survive out
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
And when I started to get that, whether it was like, because I was told you can't be gay, like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Don't show it. Don't do
Mhm.
anything that has to do with it. Nobody's
Mhm.
going to take you. You got to be masculine and all that stuff like that.
Mhm.
And when I just got to that place of like, well, I'm not seeing people like me on TV. I
Yeah.
want that out there. So
Mhm.
guess what we're going to do? I'm going to put that out there. And I just started to become comfortable with myself, scared, right? Because
Yeah.
we don't know in the beginning if it's going to be accepted. Yeah, but then
100%.
we give a little like two fucks and we're like, I don't care if it gets accepted. This is what I'm putting out there, right? And
Yeah.
so so I just want to say to you, like, I think it's admirable. As you're in this evolution and you continue to be here and find yourself, if I may, slip into friend coach role, just to say, please keep going because what we are getting to see right now is just gorgeous, right? And not just the clothes, but you like this phoenix is
Thank
just
you.
gorgeous,
Oh, thank you. That means so much coming from you because I respect you so much as an actor and like a coach and all the things above, and I see you live your life and you have kids, and like it's just I admire you so much, so that means so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really, really do. So I'm gonna ask about Cocaine Bear since we're here. We talked
Yeah.
about it, which was really, really fun, by the way.
Yeah.
And I didn't see all of it only because my kids were there and I kept having to stop and start it, stop and start it.
Oh yeah,
And
it
there was
wasn't too
like
much.
there was like, I mean, I got pretty far into it. I mean, I saw your death and everything like that. I was
Yeah.
past that part. I was, it was really, really good. And I was just like, oh my God. And I think I got all the way to the end where I might have gotten to the end. Didn't somebody switch on somebody? Like that person was like, it was like the one of the cops turned on the other
Yes,
cop.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
So I got pretty far in. I
Yeah,
was like,
that's pretty much, yeah, the
yeah.
ending.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got pretty far in. I just was
Yeah.
like, but I just wanted to go back to, if you don't mind, if we can be, because this is an actors podcast, if we can
Mhm.
just be a little actory here for a second.
Yes, please.
So you got the breakdown. Your
Mhm.
team says, "Here's the breakdown." What did you think when you saw the breakdown? What did you like do to prepare for the audition? Just take us through that journey a little bit because we really love getting into it that way.
Oh, listen, I love talking about that. I mean, so I don't know if let me see what I can say.
Yeah, right.
I was shooting a film that I met like my close friends actually from that film. It was like, but it was actually on Fire Island.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we're shooting a film and I got this breakdown um from um from my reps, and it was, I mean, I don't exactly even remember what the breakdown was, but I think it was like a little older than my age, it was like 30 to 40s. um uh, and like the description was really fun, like she's a EMT, and all this stuff. And I think because it's like, let me go back. So that breakdown came out, and I think they had already seen people. I don't know, but I had got a chance to actually talk to the casting director,
Hmm.
Deb,
Yeah.
and Dylan, and who are amazing. They're also the people who cast me in American Gods,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, which was also one of my favorite projects. So they said if you want to talk to them, you should.
Hmm.
That was one of the things that they generously put out for the actors. And my reps were like, call them, like, call them. It says you can, and, talk about it and ask questions. And, it's probably my Korean side of me, like my first instinct was like, no, I don't want to bother
No
them.
way.
Like,
No, I don't.
yeah. I was like, no, I don't want to bother them. But
They're gonna think I'm weird. I'm not gonna do
yeah,
it.
I'm like, why am I calling them? Like I love them, but that's too personal.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to. Like, I have questions. Like, I want to see what the tone is, because I think also we were in that era of doing a lot of self tapes, and because it was, pandemic, and we're
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
doing it, but that was really the boom of it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's so hard because, and I was doing self tapes after self tapes, and eh, and I booked stuff off of it, but it was also like kind of hard figuring out, because you feel like you just do it and then it's sent out in the universe. And if they
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
like you, they'll, do a Zoom call back or whatever, or ask you to retape, or, but it feels like you have to kind of figure it out for yourself, right? So I was like, you know what? I actually am gonna do it. My reps were encouraging it. They were definitely pushing me to call them, but I was like, I'm grateful for that now. But I did make a call, and they were like so happy that I wanted to hop on a call, because they were like, we said that for a reason. And like not many people have really taken that up. And we were like, we are so happy to talk to you, which is so generous and kind. And and I love talking to them. And they really like kind of gave me like a breakdown of what they wanted, which is so helpful, because that's what you would have heard in the room.
Yeah.
They were just like, I think being really grounded is important, and you know, have fun with it. But like, they were just giving me like pointers here and there. And and I think one of the things I did in my self tapes that probably people didn't do, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna improv, and I was like, I'm gonna show what I can do. And
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, I'm Korean. I can speak Korean
Hmm.
like fluently. So one of my improvs, like that I had a bit with the reader I had, um, who's a friend of mine and who was on the film. We just improv, and I did these like Korean lines, and she would react, and it was like this banter that like at the end that I did for a little like button, you know, and like we set up the whole thing. Like one of my audition scenes were like was seeing the bear. So like, like there were a lot of physicalities that I had to do, like, pushing the door open. How do I do that? And just like I think putting my judge in it
Yeah.
was very
Yeah.
important. And that was, I think, again, the same thing, like kind of bringing myself into the projects. Like, what can I do that is fun? And that's not always speaking Korean, but that was one of the things at the time I was like, oh, this could be fun. Like,
Yeah.
and I was such in a fuck it era. Like,
Yeah.
like I'll do whatever I want and see if they like it. And they did. And it was, I had so much fun.
Yes. Yeah. I was working with Elizabeth.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love
I mean,
her.
I want to work with her so bad. I was just,
Yeah. She's so great. And I said this in other interviews, but she's an actor. So it's so great to work with an actor who is also like, I've just learned a lot watching her because she's also a very strong woman. And,
Mhm.
like working with a female director on a movie like Cocaine Bear was such an experience, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, if you haven't seen it, go see it. But you might not want to get your kids to see it who are 12 and 13. You have to
It's a
explain.
lot.
I wasn't ready for the cocaine talk, but there it
Yeah.
is. We had it. We had a whole talk about it, and I didn't shy away from it, but it was really, 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 really fun.
Hey, actor. Are you constantly questioning what it takes to stand out in your self tapes? Wondering if your backdrop's color really matters? Or should you or shouldn't you use props in your audition? Or maybe what are casting directors really looking for in those first crucial 10 seconds? Hey, it's DaJuan, the self tape guy, and I've got you covered. After surveying 800 actors in my self tape challenge, I've compiled their top 10 questions into an exclusive playbook just for you. No more guesswork, no more uncertainty, and certainly no more stress. Get those answers you need to elevate your self tapes at www.selftapeplaybook.com. I got equipment, I'll talk about props, wardrobe, and eye lines. I got you covered. It's high time for your self tapes to stop being an obstacle to booking your dream role. Let's bring the joy of acting back into your life. Head on over to selftapeplaybook.com today, right now, so you can share in this success.
And I was just thinking to myself, when I was watching it, like, this is acting. Do you know why it's acting? Because I bet the bear wasn't ripping them up. You know what I mean? Everybody, like, you think about it, and the bear wasn't maybe sometimes chasing them fully. That bear will like go this way and then go this way. And like, oh, and so you probably had to act against like something making noises. Am I making this up or
Against a silver ball.
there you go.
Against a silver ball. And you know what was really great? At some point, Elizabeth like showed us a bear head, like a bear head on a stick,
Yeah.
and like how it would actually look like in the film. And she was like, "So this silver ball is this." And I saw that bear, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's humongous,
Humongous bear.
humongous!" Like,
Yeah.
so when I saw that, it was very helpful.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it was really really fun, and
Yeah. But you
yeah.
got to create it. You have to create that stuff yourself, is what I'm really getting at for actors out
Yeah,
there. I
yeah,
think sometimes, I tell them inside of my, I do a program with self tapes, and I say it's not always going to be like it is in a classroom.
yeah.
I did something on NCIS where we had to find a body in the trunk, and when I opened the trunk, the cameraman was in the trunk shooting up. And then I had to look at a tape on the side of the camera and be like, I'm acting with this thing as the actor gave me my lines off,
Oh,
and I'm trying to, because I think what happens is people go to set because they're working with people who are not working, right? And they don't know that you need to kind of be ready for a lot of different things. It's not always going to be, I get to, look in your eyes and go back and forth. No, sometimes a silver ball is chasing
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for sure. It's definitely an experience.
It's definitely an experience we can cross off. So all right, so we've laughed a lot with Cocaine Bear. That's fantastic. But I have two questions about St. Dennis. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
Saint
Yes. St.
about
Dennis.
St.
St.
Dennis.
Dennis Medical. Yeah.
Yeah, medical. It's a comedy. It's a comedy. You have some pretty awesome people in there.
Oh,
Here's
so
the thing I wanted to say to you, because I've talked about this in the podcast before, that I had it looks like, and I could just, my research could be wrong. It looks like you booked this before the pandemic. I'm sorry, before the strikes.
before the strikes.
Right. Before the strikes, not after like January, February. You
Mm-mm.
right booked it before. And I had a couple of big things in the works as well
Uh-huh.
before the strikes.
Uh-huh.
Mine didn't come back.
Uh-huh.
Were you worried about yours not coming back, or were you like, no,
I
we're good?
I felt pretty good about it.
Good,
I'm not gonna lie, I felt really good about it.
good,
Like, I for some reason, I felt so calm. Like,
good.
and because it was just so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just so good. Like, I watched the pilot. I I knew I worked with the people,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just so good.
Yeah.
Like, whatever happens, happens, obviously, but I just felt very good about it.
Good.
So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really worry,
Yeah.
I mean, strike worried me just in general, like, and like, and it was very, I wanted to jump back in. So like that time, waiting was hard, but yeah, I knew it was gonna happen. I
Yeah.
just was like, this is so good.
I love that. I love that. You know me, I'm woo woo. You know, I'm the mindset guy. And so I also had that thought of, this is going to happen. I'm going to manifest this. This is going to be on the other end of this. We're not going to stress. And so when it didn't happen, I had to reconcile that with myself,
Mm,
and how do I do that? I gave myself a little bit of grace, a
mhm,
lot of bit of grace. I held myself for a little bit and I was like, you know what? I believe there is something better coming.
100%.
I
And
believe
oh,
there. I understand that thing didn't happen, and this has moved, and this even we worry about some of these misses that could have been life changing, but we don't know they're going to be life changing. But like,
listen, and I always talk about that, like
what? Tell me.
that thing. There are so many things that I've seen people like, they book something and they're like, "Ooh, this is gonna change their life. Like this is gonna change their life." Like it didn't.
And it doesn't.
Sometimes it does. Like I'm not saying that's always it, but then there are projects that people are like, "Oh, doing this small little thing," and it changes their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I so deeply believe in,
Hmm.
if and it's hard, I'm not saying like I'm always like and I can move on so easily, but I believe in, if something doesn't work out for you, there's going to be something better.
Something better.
There's a reason. Oh, I'm getting
Yeah.
chills while I'm saying that, because I really really
I
believe in
do.
that. Like, and that has been one of the things that got me through it. Maybe it's also like I have to tell myself that.
Mhm.
But no, like I think I do tell myself that, but I do really believe in it, because that's how it's been for me. I think this was my trajectory.
Yeah.
I think there are people who have came out of school, who has soar rocketed and then is not anymore. There are people who have and then come down and then are back up again. Like there's so many trajectories that people take. And I believe this was my trajectory. Like
Yeah.
though if I didn't do this one thing, then it wouldn't have gone to this one thing, or the reason I got this was because of that. And I think everything is connection. And
Mhm.
I love my trajectory. And as hard as it was sometimes, because I would have loved to soar rocket it from the get-go and
Mhm.
just like been a star, obviously. But like I love being a star now. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like,
I do. I
I
do.
think that but that like I love that for me, and I really appreciate it. And I think there are things that I had to learn, And I'm so glad I learned that in certain sets so I didn't have to learn that in a bigger set where I could have just been myself. Everything happens for a reason.
Everything, everything does. And, I did not, that wasn't the way things have always been for me. This is all stuff that I just have practiced and I started to believe. I didn't come from a great childhood, so it doesn't like the mindset shift that you see this human making in front of you is stuff that I have come to believe so deeply because of the work I've been doing on myself and
Yeah.
deciding that me sitting, which is okay, by the way, everybody, sitting on the floor for too long in a puddle, it just wasn't working for me. I could do it for like 24 hours, but then I'm like, okay, what else is possible? So I love it. I everybody on my podcast already knows DaJuan's boo boo, so we're not even gonna pretend like he's not. I'm
Yeah,
very boo boo.
I love Hulu.
St. Dennis Medical, you are a regular on there, yeah? Am I
Yeah.
making yes? Is that your first one? Like first full billing like
Yes,
that?
yes.
Oh my
I
God.
know, I know. I'm so excited.
So tell me about that. Tell us about that. Like, how does it feel of like, this is what the coveted people actors work for, right? We talk about this all the time. We know that series regulars are dwindling. We also know that, some are staying. Like, how does it feel? Let's give the people what they want.
Wow. I feel great. I mean, it's just so fun. I think more than like, I mean, yes, of course, like, when you're working, you're like series regular, like that's like that title is like important and it is, I'm not saying it's not, but I think what I'm so excited about is just like, this is the type of show. It's like the same thing with Cocaine Bear. Like, it's a mockumentary style, and that's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like my dream job. The same thing like Cocaine Bear, like being in like a movie like 22 Jump Street. I've always wanted to be on The
American
Office.
Gods.
I always wanted to be on Modern Family. Like, you know what I mean? And so this is such a like, it's just so fun. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to, I think I'm in a state where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
Gonna
Good.
enjoy the ride. And it's like, it's so hard, like, because I also want to be a perfectionist and I'm such a like, drill it, drill it, drill it. But sometimes I also like, yes, you have to do the work, but I do also think it's important, me as a personally as an actor, for me to soar. And also just in comedy in general, you also have to learn how to let go
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
kind of play. And
Agreed.
that is finding that balance. I'm sure like, once I'm on set, it would be easier day by day.
Yeah.
But like right now we're like, in table read mode and all this stuff. Like I always just want to be like, like, I'm gonna prepare everything and
Put me in the game. Put me in the
yeah.
game.
Which is, I'm sure you're a hard worker too. So
I am.
like, I know you can like relate to that. And so like I'm excited to go on set and like find that balance, like to enjoy it and like not only like work hard, but also like play hard, you
Yeah.
know?
Kahyun, one of the things that I'll say that really take it or leave it, this is
Mhm.
for everybody out there, that again, my evolution has been to not let me say this correctly because I don't want anybody to misconstrue this. I am a hard worker. I
Mhm.
am a hard worker. It's because I want to get things right. It's because of trauma and all that stuff like that. I
Yeah.
want to show up the best possible way. But one of the big secret sauces I have been starting to find at
Mhm.
the end of all of it is just saying fuck it.
Yeah.
At the
Oh,
end of all of it, just letting it rip. At the
yeah.
end of all of it, saying something to myself is like, DaJuan, what if you just did this messy? And to
Mhm.
me, that's like, well, what if there's a grade? If there's a grade,
Yeah. Oh, I'm right there with you. Yes.
but
Yes.
we have to mess it up. And it took me, a lot of years. Honestly, everybody, it took me watching myself on this self-tape era to see
Mm.
that I knew everything to get on set. After being on 7 or 8 years on a show, I was like, great, I know what they want. I'm good. But when I started auditioning again, when the show was over, I was like, oh, you're just doing what you think you can do to get on set. They
Mhm.
need to see full characters.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
need to see these things be lived in. And so
Mhm.
it's been really fun, just falling in love with acting again, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Oof. That's yeah, that's hard. Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's such a like pull and push relationship because like I love it so much, but I think now that I'm starting, you know, we're starting production and stuff, I'm also like relearning how to find that balance because for years, like crafting that mentally was very hard.
Hmm.
Because for a while I just care so much. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I love what I do. Like I think we're all so blessed. A lot of the people who like keep on going with acting, they're doing it because they love it, you know?
Yeah.
Like we don't do I mean, yes, like sure there's a lot of other things that come with it, but I think it's such a hard job to do. It's so personal. And for me, for years, like this is the only thing I care about. This is the only thing I want. So finding that balance between like, yes, you can still feel all that way, but also have a healthy mindset,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and not
Yeah.
not, yes, be in a puddle for a day. But next time, maybe it can be 23 hours instead of
Yes,
24 hours.
exactly. Exactly.
Like, and finding that balance, like you should still be in a puddle because I think it is important to grieve and I
Yeah.
think it's important to celebrate. Like, but how do I like, I have my friends that have this like joke that I don't really tell people when I'm like working or
Hmm.
like, or book something. And for me, the reason I consciously did that, like some people are like, well, but we want to celebrate you. And I was like, yes, 100%. Like I love the celebration. But for me, what it wasn't like I'm not going to actively not tell you. It was just the highs that I got from booking or like working was so big than when I was not.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wanted to find that balance. I wanted to be like, no, like this is my everyday life. Like I'm gonna work
This
a
is
lot of
big, yo. This is big. This is big. This is big, big. I love it. No, but this is like you're like next level mindsetting. Because I love talking about this. Go ahead. I'll wrap it up in a second.
Oh, yeah, no, it is the like, yeah, just like being like, no, this is like my everyday. Like, I don't need to be, yes, if it's a big thing that I really wanted, 100%, like I want to celebrate because I sometimes now I'm finding the balance of, okay, sometimes I do want to be celebrated, and like sometimes I do, like I do want to like share that with people, but for a while, the reason I really kind of shunned away from it was that like noticed when people are like, "Oh my god, that's so huge. That's so great." Like, "Whoa, yeah." Like, it was so like so validating for me. And it wasn't validation that came from myself. It came from other people. I wanted to show people like, this is how well
We're
and yeah,
working. We're working.
yes, I'm doing it. Like, and I was like, that is important. Like yes, of course, but this is my everyday life. Like I am in a mindset like no, like I am this is normalcy. It's
Hmm.
not a high, it's a normalcy. Like
Yeah.
this is gonna be my everyday life. So finding that balance, and I'm still finding it. I'm in no way like saying that, oh, I found it and now it's great. I'm just like that kind of mindset is something I'm always working on because
Yeah.
I just care so much. I just love it so much. Like
Right.
this is my favorite thing.
I want to
So
delineate two things real quick. The first one is we're not saying that, okay, back up. You said such great stuff. There's a couple things here. One is a lot of what actors do that I see from a coaching perspective is we forget that we have two hats to wear in this industry. And one hat is our actor hat and one hat is our business hat. When we
mhm.
have on our actor hat, that holds your hopes, your dreams, your Oscar speeches, all that stuff. That's all that stuff. And we really don't wear the actor hat that much. It's from cut to whatever action or that part whenever they're doing that or whenever we're auditioning that stuff. That's when we have our actor hat on. Any other time we're in our business hat. Right when we're talking about negotiations, when we're talking about parts, when we're breaking down scripts and stuff like that, that stuff can really get to the business part of that. And I really want to be clear about that because I think actors don't know which hat to put on at which time, and that's when it gets really kind of ugh. So when you said that, not to tell anybody, tell anybody, I love it. And that's exactly what I felt like when I was on Bosch. I also just want to put a little pen in this for everybody else listening and say, there are some times as a business person where you have to put that stuff
Oh,
out there.
100%. Yes.
So just remember that, because we are such a population, we are such a tribe of actors that do not celebrate ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
celebrate ourselves. And I want to make sure that we're saying, hey, we're not saying watch this, because what you said about the highs and the lows, that is perfect. But we also get to hold the intention as well of, you know what? I just booked my first guest star. So I'm going to tell people, because you're not really telling those other actors. When you're putting that out there, you are putting that out there for the directors to see, for the casting directors to see, for other writers and people. That is what we're putting that out there for. But if you're looking for validation, just like you said, that's not going to feel great.
Yes. Yes.
That's not going to. So I just wanted to wrap it up in
I
there.
love that you say it in so much better way. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, no, you are that. Yes, that is exactly what it is. Like, it is. There is a business side of it,
Right.
like in a realistic way. You know, you have to like know, like people want to know that you're working. You know, and that's also important. But yeah, I think a lot of it was affecting me as a person.
Yep.
So that was what was needed for me, like personally. Like some people are not. You know, hindered by that, like, you know, they don't have a lot of up and downs. Like there are people like that in the world. I'm very surprised how they
I'm
do
not.
that.
I don't know them. I've
Yeah.
never met them.
I'm like, sorry being an actor and doing
I've
that,
heard
but
they're like that.
yeah.
I got a
So
question for you. It's real personal, real quick. It's real personal. And I'm going to preface it by, I don't want any numbers. Don't say any numbers or anything like that. I don't want any numbers. But as you went into contract negotiations for this new project that you're on, how did you feel? How did it sit in your mindset? Were you like, oh, you guys just take care of it, whatever you want? Or were you an active participant in like your contract negotiations?
I mean, honestly, when it was happening, I was in Korea.
Okay.
So I was the time zone was I
Yeah.
was like, you know, I was like, and my dad was in the living room just being like, what is happening? Like actually it was funny because he always walks in when I'm like, please, like I'm doing this. And it's like 8, 9 a.m. and he's a professor, so it was during his break. And yeah, I'm like, please don't come in the room. I'm doing a Zoom thing, please. And he's always to the dot when I just start, we're in the middle of it, just opens the door and it's like, when are we going to lunch? Like, you know, my and my dad. So that being said, no, I was not an active participant because I was like, you know, I was kind of in that zone of like family and like, you know, and like, and I'm sure that helped actually, you know. And I trusted
Yeah.
my and I trust my team and I just kind of like let them do it and you know, so maybe that makes me a bad business person, but I was
It
just
doesn't
like,
make you bad at anything. It doesn't make you. I just know that actors shy away from numbers, and
yeah,
if anything, that we were taught last year during our strike, and I've been talking about it for years. You know, for what I've made on Bosch and everything. You know, I just want every actor to be an active participant and not turn it over to somebody else. I trust my team, but
yeah,
you
yeah,
know who I trust more than my team?
me.
Me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, and you know what the thing is, they were actively influencing. I guess I wouldn't say I wasn't like in it because they would actively come to me and
Yeah, they
ask
have to. Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, like and like make sure because I've also heard horror stories where they just like accept it without like any talk with the actor, which is, you know, which I was like, wow, I didn't even know that ever happened. That's so violating because it's like gonna be your like hopefully like for, you know, it's gonna be my
7 years.
years.
7 years.
Yeah, like, you know, so like
Yeah.
I'm like I would like to know and they were very, you know, even with the time difference, they would always like, you know, update me and stuff like that. So I did feel like I was actively inside the discussion. I
Good.
just and I gave my opinion. I just wasn't, I guess, because I think behind the scenes stuff, they do have more knowledge because they're the one who's talking with them.
Yeah.
So they do have that knowledge probably that I don't have. But they were very like communicative and you know and yeah, so I felt I didn't feel in any way that I was not involved, but
Yeah.
I wasn't like, this is the number I want, you know. Yeah. Although that
Next
was up
time.
to you.
Next time.
Yeah,
Next
next
time.
time. Maybe I should do it that way too.
So as I land this plane here, I guess I just want to ask you, just a last question.
Mhm.
What do you wish you knew about the business before you started? Or like or even like where you are right now? What do you like looking back when we talked about a lot about looking back? Like,
Mhm.
what do you wish you knew about the business?
I think I mean, I'm happy I had everything. I went through everything, so I wouldn't necessarily change like what I knew because I think I had to learn. Like because somebody can keep on saying it and be, you know, say something to me, and I'm sure people have said this to me, and I knew all of this, but like learning it personally and really feeling it and going through it is how I learned it. So I think everything was where it was supposed to be, and which made me where I am. But I would say like one of the big things that I really think is important is fuck it.
Yeah.
I had to, because I was, not everybody should have a fucking mentality, because there are already people who go in with that mindset that
Mhm.
also have to learn, you know, no, sometimes you do have to care and like you have to put in the work. So I think not everybody should have the same motto, but because I was in a place where I just graduated, I just cared so much that I wish I would have fuck it a little bit and be like, this is who I
She
am.
means the work. She means the work. She means the work.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah. Or not.
I
Or anything
know.
else. But but so yeah, so that's probably something that I wish I incorporated more. But no, I think I'm happy where I was, and I'm happy where I am. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm happy you're here too. And I'm so honored and humbled you came to talk to us about all the coke came
All the
there.
code. All
All this stuff. You'll have to come back and update us and keep us going and let us know
thank you.
how the new medical comedy comes out, because I just think it's gonna be amazing, and I think you're amazing. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, DaJuan.
Kahyun. Oh gosh, the importance of fuck it. I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it one time, everybody. I'm sorry if that offends you, but we're talking about the importance of fuck it and bringing more of that to your career. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. That's a D12 shot for today, that Kahyun said. And I think more fun has started to come back into this business, into this industry, into my career, into my work, when I started being myself, as she was saying, started being myself and bringing a little bit of that. What do you say here? I don't know. I don't want to call it effort, because I never really fully understood the effort part, because I love what I get to do so much. I love it. So it was hard for me to say fuck it to the career, but really getting that confidence, really settling into myself. That is great, because it stopped me from trying to be perfect. It stopped me from trying to get everything right in an audition. It just allowed me to just be freaking messy with my work, and that being okay. And I kind of love that I've been released, in this part of my journey and my career and this evolution of it. And I hope you will be too. I hope that you get to that, and maybe you understand the effort and it means something different. But I think for me, I still want, I grew up in theater. I do theater RE, so it's really important to me, this business. But I'm also just like, hey, it is another thing. It's just another thing. I do a job, I go out there and I move on. Sometimes my job pays me really well. Sometimes I don't get paid really well. Sometimes I get paid $100. Sometimes I take different types of jobs. I do things for friends, all that things. And when I really put it in that context, that's my effort. I feel so much better. I feel so much better for that. And I talked a little bit about the opening of this. I talked a little bit about, taking it to 100 and me having those good days and having some bad days and those effort days and stuff like that. And on my good days, when I take care of my mental game and, and I've gone to yoga and I've gone for my walks and done morning pages and stuff like that, I know no one is immune to a slow industry. I know that we need a little bit of effort in our. I know this, and I know that slow careers can happen to any of us. I think about this a lot when I'm thinking about like some of the actors from Cheers or some of the actors from Taxi or some of the older shows, Parenthood. Are they all working at all times? No, they're not. They're not, and we're gonna get a little bit of that in our career. I think it's what we do with it. It's what we go down to it. So I am going to lean into the effort for this D12 shot. Really, really, really lean into it. And I want you to lean into it too. And I also want you to share this podcast with other people. Did you see how smooth I was with that? I was so smooth. I didn't even know it was coming out of my mouth. I didn't even know that I was going to ask you to please share this podcast with other people, just one other actor, because so many people listen to this podcast. And I'm so grateful to you. I'm so grateful to all those that listen to this podcast. But I also want you to share it. Share it. I'm going to write a song. Share it, baby. Thank you so much, Kahyun, for coming on. You were great, and I believe in surrounding myself with the best people in this industry and the best people in life. I really, 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 really do. And I just want to say this part to you, just in case nobody else has said it to you today. Don't quit. Don't get out of line. Borrow my faith in you, because I'm rooting for us so hard. So hard. And I want you to hold the vision, not the circumstances of your career, not the circumstances that you're in right now, not the circumstances that only you can see right now, because that's just a perception. Hold the vision, because your vision is bigger than just this moment. And remember, I love you so big. I do. I'll see you next time.